SoundArt introduces an entirely new way to listen to music in your home. By combining the best of two products, a revolutionary high-fidelity, low-profile Bluetooth wireless speaker with beautiful artwork. Select from a library of artwork or upload your own photos to personalize your experience. SoundArt ushers in an era of invisible, beautiful, and amazing sound throughout your home and redefines your entire entertainment system. The need to reclaim your floor space and rid your home of unsightly speaker boxes that need to be bolted to the wall is now a thing of the past. Our canvas is printed on high-quality permalite by Breathing Color. And select from our gallery or upload your own. Standard sizes include 16 by 20 and 18 by 24 canvas wrapped. Custom sizing is available, as well as surround sound options.
After months of quarantine, we're all interested in how we can become our best self. The team at Permanent Makeup and Cryo is here to help you get the flawless makeup look every day without the extra effort or time. When it comes to your appearance, you deserve the best care that money can buy.
5 races in, we've run on just about every kind of speedway the NASCAR slate has to offer on iRacing. Daytona, Kansas, Michigan, North Wilkesboro, and Kentucky. Tonight, the NORC iRacing Series changes that up entirely, and we visit our first road racing stop on the season. Welcome to the NORC iRacing Series on Pit Stop TV. Andrew Cardinale IV with Eric Brennan and Emerson Arden alongside. Trey Shuttlesworth out and around the racetrack grabbing photos for us to enjoy on social media. And we welcome you once again to our Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter coverage this evening as we get set to go for 40 laps just across the street from Brazelton's notable 3/8 mile oval linear raceplex just across the way. We're at the virtual Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta, one of my personal favorite racetracks on the face of the earth, Eric. We've already been privy to some thrilling, breathtaking, exhilarating, nail-biting, edge-of-your-seat action in NORC Season 13. But while we may see a spread-out field this evening, I bet that this will only add to that action, at least from the driver's seats.
You're 100% right, Andrew. And hello, everybody watching. And I'll tell you what, I think we're all in for a little bit of a treat tonight. Think back to when NASCAR put an egg beater to their 2021 Cup Series schedule, and we saw that explosion of road courses added to the slate. A lot of people were wondering why Road Atlanta was not added to the mix, especially considering the fact that the 1.5 mile oval got an additional race, because this track is not only scenic, it's fun, but luckily for us, it's challenging. And as Andrew alluded to in his introduction, we've already seen racing and thrilling racing at Daytona, Kansas, Michigan. The list goes on and on. I expect the trend to continue on this tough road course that we have set up here tonight. But Emerson, when it comes to road course racing, this track is truly in a league of its own. And I'm stressing the fact that it is difficult, especially coming through those S's.
Oh, absolutely. This is one of the most notable American circuits out there. I mean, Road Atlanta has some amazing elevation. The S's, technical, but a lot of fun, especially the way you can carry the speed through the back half of the S's and heavy braking zones down into the chicane and into the double right-hander. It's a lot of fun at this track. I cannot wait to see these drivers rip it around here for 40 laps.
It's going to be a fun one this evening. We do have a halfway caution to worry about in a little while, but we'll get to that momentarily. First, let's talk about the Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. Now, I realize it does say Kentucky Speedway along the top. Ignore that. Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. It's a 2.54-mile road course in Brazelton, Georgia. This place oozes history in IMSA, sports car racing in general. It is a fantastic road course. It is quintessential road course racing in the United States of America. All kinds of elevation change, corners that are built into the earth, and corners that are sure to excite this evening. You see the layout. Turns 2, 3, 4, 5 through the S's. That's going to be your big mistake area of the day. We'll also see probably some off tracks, be it in between turn 6 or 7, maybe out of turn 7, possibly some spins as well in that low gear corner, trying to get down the backstretch with as much speed as possible. You fly through turn 8, turn 9, you'll actually come up over the hill and straight down to that hard left chicane of 10A and then 10B back up the hill before coming back down the hill through turns 11 and 12. This is a fantastic course. If you're new to Road Atlanta, I think you're going to enjoy it this evening. It's certainly a fun one. Of course, we've gone through a good portion of this schedule so far. 5 races to be exact. We're now at Road Atlanta, stop number 6 on the way. We have Dover next week, Homestead coming up, iRacing Super Speedway even, but tonight, again, Road Atlanta, 40 laps. It should be a fun one. Qualifying getting underway. Before we go any further, let's talk about standings coming into this one, Eric. It's been all Daniel Falkingham so far. That said, Zoltan Herzeg, Chad Oxendine, Cody Miller, they each have a win to their name. Cody Miller got it at Daytona, then Chad Oxendine at North Wilkesboro, and Zoltan Herzeg last week. And, of course, Falkingham had his wins at Kansas and Michigan. Things are going to get a bit topsy-turvy this evening, and if I had to pinpoint one driver in this entire field to pick for the race win to move up through these standings as well, it would be the number 70 in position number 12.
Yeah, Aaron Smith, who had an amazing run at Daytona in the season opener, and you could see him there hanging right in that final spot as far as playoff contention we get later on in the season. He's currently holding down that 12th and final position, but practice has been a huge indication of some of the drivers to watch, and Aaron Smith, and his name is someone who has been running right up there towards the top of the charts throughout the practice session, and I'm with you. I think he perhaps could end up coming on to the fold here tonight and becoming another winner on the season. Only driver to have multiple wins so far is that of Falkingham. Falkingham. But keep in mind, that came at Kansas and Michigan, 2 intermediate tracks on the slate. He also was relatively quick in the practice session earlier, but Emerson, if he wants to keep the momentum rolling and keep collecting trophies, this track is going to be one of his toughest challenges yet this season.
Oh, absolutely. And it's always great, to be the top pace setter in practice. That was Daniel Falkingham in the 50-minute practice they had attached to this race session today. Now, I've also been watching him a lot. Maybe it's just practice, but he has been really trying to find every single advantage, and that could come out to bite him in the race. And he's going to have to do a lot of managing. I'm sure in race conditions he will, get down to race pace and take it a little bit more easy than I've been watching him do. But Falkingham has a decent point margin, and definitely doesn't want to throw away this race if he wants to extend that point margin. And then again, the back half of the standings, this is a great opportunity. Cole Freilich up there, I don't even see him on this list. He's up there in the sixth. He was sixth in practice. He could also turn up this point standings list as well.
And if you don't know, Aaron Smith is absolutely the road course expert in the regular batch of drivers in the NORC Racing Series. When we don't have Bobby Zielinski, you've got to look to the 70 car, and I don't see Bobby Zielinski in the field. So I have got to be watching out for the 70 car this evening, Aaron Smith. We'll be watching out for him tomorrow as well in the BRP Racing Series. So you NORC fans that want to see more Aaron Smith, especially on a road course, tomorrow night, Modifieds at Watkins Glen, make sure to be there. We'll see if Aaron can pick up his first win of that season, but tonight it's all about him trying to move up and further into that possible chase field as we get closer to the chase as well, Eric. We'll see how it goes. Qualifying, I mentioned, underway. Zoltan Herzeg, now the fastest on the racetrack so far. Let's take a look at some of our qualifying times as they come in. There we go, that's the correct ticker. And how about that on the left side as well? I know it's pretty exciting to have some of the number plates that look pretty well alike, some of these cars on the racetrack. Zoltan Herzeg currently working down to turn number 6. And he could be one of the other guys that spoils the show this evening for some of the other fantastic road course racers in this series. But I'm watching for that 70.
Yeah, and Herzeg is somebody who was riding a wave of momentum, and you could see it by him besting the field by nearly 1 second with about 4.5 minutes left to go in this qualifying session. We're now on board with Daniel Falkingham, who has been on a roll. We talked about the fact that his back-to-back wins came in the second and third race of the season, but Falkingham has shown speed in pretty much every race we've contested so far this season. In fact, he's had 3 top 5 finishes so far in the races in which he had not had problems, and as he approaches this chicane, which is going to be one of the heaviest braking points on this racetrack, it was important to note that Falkingham appeared to spend a lot of time on track in the practice session trying to perfect his line and maybe possibly Emerson to see how long he could run on fuel, because pit strategy is going to be a big deal here as well. And even with that bobble, Falkingham moves up to second.
Yeah, we saw Falkingham do a nice long run in practice, getting that information, which will be crucial when it comes to this race time. And 40 laps at Road Atlanta, no joke. Strategy is definitely going to help you out today to keep you up in the mix. And if you're outside of the mix, get you into that mix.
Chad Oxendine off in turn 1, goes through the gravel, goes through the grass, and drifting things here in this qualifying session. That'll invalidate any lap time he may have just started. Hayes Booth also on the racetrack. I know we have his mom, Lori, watching this evening. How are you doing, Lori? Hayes working down the back stretch, headed towards that very fast, well, slow actually, chicane, but very fast entry, this downhill portion, man. That is a very, very tricky piece of racetrack, very tricky piece of asphalt. It'll be interesting to see how these guys cope in a field. Hayes Booth nails it, though, that first time through here in qualifying. We'll see if this completes an out lap or a flying lap for him in just a moment as he comes across the start-finish line. And the Ford Mustang goes... well, he goes up to nothing. So that was an out lap that he just completed. That, or he may have taken a... yeah, I think that may have been invalidated by possibly an off track, but it's listed as a 134, so I don't know. I'm not exactly sure. May have been an outlap. We'll have to wait and see. But only a couple of minutes left here in qualifying. So, Eric, if he wants to get a time in, if anybody else wants to get a time in and they aren't on that board already, they've got to get moving. One name I noticed that isn't qualifying yet is Aaron Smith.
Yeah, Aaron Smith is somebody who's yet to lay down a time who is in this session. You also have Cody Miller, Daytona winner. He's yet to lay down a flyer. Tommy Gossett, another name we're used to seeing up front, as well as the driver's second in points, Tyler Justice, who, you know, the last time that I was on one of these NORC broadcasts was the 2 races ago at North Wilkesboro. And the story was that Tyler Justice, who has finished in the top 5 in 4 races this season, has yet to crack victory lane. He's always running up towards the head of the pack, but he's yet to get the job done. However, he was the fastest in qualifying last time out of Kentucky. So I was interested to see if you could find some road course magic and maybe pull a rabbit out of the hat here late in this session. But time is running out, and there's a lot of names that we've yet to see lay down a lap time. Only 12 times have been clocked in so far by this field in excess of 20 cars, as Booth has a big slide and a spin as he comes through the chicane, and that may do it for him. He's got to get that car back up to speed and back to the start-finish line, as he may get one more shot to lay down a flyer.
We're watching Chad Oxendine here, one of 3 cars that are out there on the track, so not many more times. And I am very intrigued by Aaron Smith, if this is a choice, choosing not to qualify, you know, showing that pace in practice, being second fastest and really having a shot at faulking him. Well, if it's a choice, starting at the back of the field, it'll be interesting to watch and see how he works his way through traffic. But he does have a caution to rely on working his way forward.
Another driver that I don't see in the field this evening, actually 2 drivers I don't see in the field so far, going to be Terrell Baker and Will Klein. Now, today is Will Klein's birthday, so a happy birthday wish goes out to him. I actually saw him in A-Fix the other night, just in some official racing, but it doesn't look like he's in the field this evening, and he mentioned that could be a possibility. It is his birthday. I can't knock him for just celebrating. I really can't blame him at all, but it would be nice to have him out on the racetrack, but it doesn't look like we'll see him. Oxendine comes through trying to complete a lap, and he will complete that lap, but it is not good for a time, so we're looking at about the starting grid that we'll have here in just a moment. We'll get to that here momentarily. 20 seconds left in qualifying. Let's remind everybody these broadcasts brought to you by some wonderful partners here at Pit Stop TV. Tucson Sound Art, your picture, your music. Use promo code PitStopTV at checkout for 10% off of your order today. These broadcasts also brought to you by Race Pace Setups. Pick up pace with Race Pace. By Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine, where you deserve the best care that money can buy. By Whiplash Media, the official graphic and camera provider of Pit Stop TV, and by BAM Racing Videos, by a race fan for the racing community. As it says top left of your screen, we are staging this field now. We are ready to go green flag racing. Let's take a look at our starting grid at Road Atlanta. Starting first this evening on pole, Zoltan Herzeg, last week's winner, pitted right next to our only 2-time winner so far this season. We'll see how that front row goes into turn number 1, but Zoltan Herzeg will lead us to the green flag at Road Atlanta. Starting third this evening, Eric, it's David Shutt in the number 5, Brett Pincari in the 4th spot, and to complete your top 5, it will be none other than Aiden Kirker in the 17.
Cole Freilich is somebody who's trying to climb the championship point standings. He finds himself 22nd in the standings, but 6th when they come down for green here tonight. He'll be on the outside of row number 3 in car 15. Zach Lindgren is somebody who has cranked out some solid runs, trying to put it all together here on the road course. Qualified 7th. Good run for Zach there. With Spencer Ray up on the outside. Spencer enjoys road racing, does it a lot in Indy cars, now here in the stock car on the NORC side, and he's going to start car number 6 in 8th position. We'll take you back now to round out our top 10 with Howie Briss in car number 97, and outside Tom Mercier taking you through your top 10.
We find our way back to row number 6. We're going to find V74 John Baer, who showed some pace in practice. It'll be interesting to see if he can move his way into the top 10 early here. And Ari Audi will start to his outside. Finding our way back to row number 7, we're going to find Aaron Smith, and we'll see if he is able to take that grid spot. And he is going to be, he would be slated to start next to Tyler Justice in that number 7. And back to row number 8 in the 15th position, we're going to go ahead and find Chad Oxendine. We'll see how he's able to move his way forward here at Road Atlanta.
And it looks like some of these positions may get mixed up, of course. There may be some differences in how ATVO feeds us this information and how they actually line up in iRacing, but these are the rest of your starters, at least in this field. Sheldon Lockie there in the 69 car. We'll also have Spencer Owens in the 12, Cody Miller in the number 28, 19th, at least according to ATVO, will be Tommy Gossett in the 54 alongside Justin Ford in the 00. A little further back, we'll go to the 53 car of Michael Keithley. Good to see him back in the field. Hayes Booth as well, as we covered through qualifying. In the 8 car, we'll have Josh Robin. Then Sean Williams, one of everybody's favorites, in the 24th spot. We'll see where he actually takes the green flag this evening. That is it. 24 cars ready to go at it for 40 laps this evening at Road Atlanta. Now, something we were talking about amongst ourselves before we got going this evening, guys, is the possibility of some pit strategy this evening. And we don't know exact specifics just yet, but all indication is that even with a 60% fuel limit, these guys can go very close, if not to, the 20-lap halfway point. They may be able to go the full distance that first caution on a tank of fuel, but it's going to be very close, and it will force these drivers to take a full tank, which is going to likely force them to take tires as well. I'd imagine you want to anyways. We may or may not see an extra pit stop under green. That is up to the drivers. We'll see how it goes. Of course, fuel saving is very common on road course racing anyways, so it's all up to the drivers at this point. The possibilities are endless, and they are in their hands. We do have 2 sets of tires in the pit lane that may also entice them to take an extra stop.
Yeah, and I think we may know relatively early if some drivers are very doubtful as to whether or not they can make it. We might see them pit a couple laps in here and maybe try to catch a caution. But judging by some of the homework that we did on our end, it appears we're optimistic that some of these, especially drivers who know how to save a little bit of fuel, especially when you got this long straightaway that Road Atlanta has to offer. Emerson, I think making it to that halfway break is in fact a possibility, but we should know relatively early if drivers elect to stop soon to assure that they get to that point.
Oh, absolutely. And if they cannot make it to that halfway break, we could also see drivers pit early and try to work it backwards, knowing that they have that caution at lap 20 and try to get the most advantage they can on fresh tires. We'll see how that works out. But we're on our way down this long back straightaway, and we're getting ready to go here at Road Atlanta.
And I can tell you that backstretch is long enough to land a plane on. That's a story for another day, but getting ready to go green flag racing. Again, 40 laps the distance, 24 cars in the field. The smallest field we've had so far this season. The previous smallest was last week at Kentucky, but strong fields through and through. 28 cars last week. We had a couple of rounds of 29. 24 this evening. I expect that to go up next week at Dover. Getting ready to take the first green flag. Well, the green flag of the evening. Zoltan Hergzeg, your pole sitter, leading us into turn 12. And there they go. We are racing at Road Atlanta. Side by side towards the S as we go. Pancari's going to take a big spin up towards turn 2. He's not the only one, though. We had another driver that was spinning. We're going to find who that is, but Pancari around at the top of turn 2.
Yeah, Pancari actually slid the front tires on the entrance into turn number 1. Then the back end stepped out on him, and that car remained stationary on what is an uphill run towards the S's. You see him there as we flash back up to the leaders, and Falkingham has gotten around Hergzeg here as they approach the halfway point of this first lap. Hergzeg now about 2 car lengths behind, but it's Falkingham, the points leader, now the race leader with a half lap in the books.
An amazing battle for the top 2 working their way through the S's as they start to scoot away from the field. David Schutt and the rest. It was Cole Freilich that also had a spin in turn 1, and that's what I was worried about down to turn 1. As they're going side by side down the back straightaway.
Side by side down this long backstretch. Falkingham fades over in front of Zoltan. We'll see how Zoltan treats that into 10A and a defensive line as well. Now, moving a little bit in the braking zone. Daniel's got to be careful of that as the race goes on. Zoltan a bit sideways out of the apex, and David Schutt is going to close.
Boy, these guys are pushing and pushing hard. And how about David Schutt riding that car, which I believe Scott McLaughlin made famous when he was running V8 Supercars after he set that flyer at Bathurst a couple years ago. He's riding in third and closing up on Hergzeg and Falkingham for the lead as Falkingham leads lap 1. Kirker and Briss take you through your top 5, but everybody appears to be pushing really, really hard early in this stint as they head back up through the S's and start to tighten up this battle across the top 3.
Oh, absolutely. This is the best time to make overtakes. We're going to get a replay here, potentially that first lap action. And we'll see here, turn 1 again, very, very treacherous. And it was an unknown to these drivers, really. We've never seen turn 1 taken in a pack full of NASCAR stock cars. But here we go with Cole Freilich into the corner. And I don't quite know what happened there.
He just got heavy on the brakes, and he's got a lot of rear brake dialed into that car, it looks like. You see, Tyler Justice had to all but stop. That's very treacherous for these guys, and they pass the spun out here, Howie Briss. I want to watch this from Tyler's perspective right quick before we get back to green flag action. This is up the hill. He was starting in about the midfield, and you're going to see Cole Fralick is just going to go off into turn 1, and the rear of the car is going to come around on him. Now, we have seen NORC run these cars at Road Atlanta before. It came all the way back in Season 7 in early 2018. I was still living in California. How about that? But man, you see the smoke light up, and Tyler's got to come to a stop here on the inside of turn 1, and man, you know what? He didn't even hit Cole Fralick. It was just Cole Fralick sideswiping that inside wall that does it for him. But we'll go back up to our race leaders, and again, these guys, a lot of these guys anyways, have raced here in the NASCAR Xfinity Series cars, but not quite like this, and Zoltan Herczeg has had a big moment.
Yeah, it looks like he's had an off.
Oh, and Howie Briss!
Wow, those two almost came together there, and that would have been big for Herczeg, who's already lost 2 spots by virtue of the bobble that he had there through the first few corners. So Briss, Ray, Lindgren, all in a line here as we're going to go back and see what happened to our winner last time out of Kentucky. A driver who's been climbing his way up the point standings, currently 3rd in the standings. Here he is by himself. Emerson looks like he's going to have his issues through turns 1 and 2, perhaps.
Yeah, I think he got just trying to get an arc through 1. It's such a tricky corner and runs a little wide there on the entry, and he's just going to go for a ride through the grass. And then once you have that grass on your tires, it's not going to give you the grip, so he's under heavy attack from Howie Briss and just trying to hold on to what he's got here. Near contact there in the S's.
I think there definitely was some simulated contact. Of course, a little bit of netcode playing in right there, but definitely I think Howie got that 96 car just a little bit sideways through that corner, but Zoltan regroups. He now sits in 4th spot and is going to fall just a little bit ways back of race leader Daniel Falkingham. But this is suddenly looking like Falkingham's race to lose. We'll see how this halfway caution treats things, especially with Aaron Smith starting so far back in the field. It looks like Josh Robin may have missed the start this evening. It's hard to say. No, he's got damage. Let's take a look back.
Josh Robin is somebody who did everything possible at the season opener at Daytona to get the job done and grab victory there. He comes into tonight looking for success, and that's a big off and big contact with that huge retaining wall there. What looked to be on the main straightaway for that of Robin, and that was something that certainly has caused significant damage to the front end of his car, and I know that he started out towards the back of the field. We'll try to get another look at it here as they're coming through turn 12 and on the main straightaway. Looks like he just ran out wide and caught the grass. The car spun. Fralick with a big move to avoid. And it was Robin who made significant front-end impact with the wall while Fralick continues on.
Yeah, down that corner, that final corner, it's a downhill, fast-sweeping right-hander that leads onto a straightaway. You're enticed to get all you can through that corner and got a little too much, and unfortunately that A-car paid the price for it. Back up here, we are on board with Zach Lindgren right now in 7th, trying to put the pressure on the 6th place, 6-car Spencer Ray into the chicane.
And Zach Lindgren has real car experience here. Granted, it was in a Skip Barber Ford Mustang a couple of months ago, but he has driven around Road Atlanta. He knows what it's like to feel these corners. He knows the reference points. He knows where to turn in, where to hit the gas, where to hit the brakes. He knows how to get around here. He's having a pretty good night so far. I talked with him earlier in the week. He was not excited about coming here, oddly enough, even though this is the one big track like this where he's got racetrack experience, race car experience. He wasn't quite looking forward to it, but so far, top 10 and putting the pressure on Spencer Ray. He's fallen back a little bit, a couple of small mistakes, but then you see Spencer go drifting through turn 2. So it's all about keeping on that car in front of you, limiting your mistake, and honestly, I think it's better to lose a little bit of time in corner exit to save those rear tires than buzz them and possibly go for a spin.
And you can see not that far ahead as Spencer Ray gets a little bit sideways here. Lindgren's trying to set him up as they come up the hill here for what may be a good passing opportunity here to turn 6. You see Ray defend down to the low side. He protects driver's right, gets a little bit loose under braking. And Emerson, we've talked a lot on all the other tracks that we've been on about this Xfinity style car. It's a big run for Lindgren off the corner. These guys are going to battle side by side. I'm watching the rear end of these cars move around a lot, and that is a product of this car and the horsepower package it has and the lack of downforce on the back end, even on the road courses, as Lindgren completes the pass. And it's making the exit of all these corners so much fun to watch as everybody's wiggling the back end of that car trying to get back to the power. This car has not only produced thrillers on some of the intermediates and super speedways, it's doing it here at Road Atlanta as we watch Herczeg try to work his way back to the front.
Absolutely, and Herczeg Now really trying to put the time in here so he can get himself into that position. And I think at this point he's got to bank on that lap 20 caution. And back to your point, yeah, you're in these slow corners, as here's Tommy Gossett on the pit lane. In those slow corners, you're basically taking a 3,500-pound brick with 650 horsepower in the rear tires from a standstill. That is difficult in itself. And it's bitten a few people. Cole Freilich and Hayes Woof had double trouble back in turn 1. Chad Oxendine has retired as well, and there's just a lot of people struggling with the track here at Road Atlanta.
Tommy Gossett takes a pit. I think this is the beginning of what we'll see through this first 20-lap segment here, Eric. Taking fuel only, no tires right there. I think that was planned by Tommy Gossett. I think we may be just a little bit short, and he didn't want a chance saving the fuel. I think we'll see a few more pit stops along the way. Tyler Justice has got problems. Maybe gets the car sorted, or is that car crabbing a little bit? It's very out of function or something. I don't exactly know here for Tyler Justice. We'll take a look back.
Yeah, remember, he had that nearest scare with Cole Freilich early in turn number 1 after Freilich got sideways turn 1, lap 1. We're on board with Justice here. Looks as though he's coming up through the S's, one of the most difficult parts on this racetrack. And we'll try to see what happened to this driver here. Now up this long straightaway, approaching the hard right-hander at turn 6 and 7, which does a great job. He pulls aside and lets Aaron Smith by, who, as we know, is one of the favorites here on some of the road course races. A big bobble there. Wow, that was a glove save and a beauty for Justice, who continued that slide through turn 7. That is somebody who's got their hands full tonight, and he is going to have to work diligently to try to hold on to second in the points, because he's struggling here, and he is coming down the pit lane for service.
Oddly enough, is he actually pitted back here? No, he's pulled onto the opposite pit road. I think he may have made a mistake. I think he may have gone down the wrong pit lane, expecting that would be the pits that he had to go down. Now, if you don't know, Road Atlanta has 2 pit roads. The older one, well, is the, I guess, opposite pit road that he goes down. I don't know if he's just got a problem and was planning to leave right here. I'm so confused. It does look like he has possibly disconnected. But this is very odd. I did not expect to see a car rolling down this pit lane.
Yeah, it's a very odd set of circumstances for Tyler Justice. I'm not sure if that's just about a frustration as to how his race has unfolded. I mean, we're not even a quarter of the way through yet, though, so I'm very surprised that Justice would elect to just kind of pull off and park it for the day, but he did so in spectacular fashion. Took me by surprise. I didn't realize that was actually the opposite end of the pit lane, but Emerson's second verse remains, same as the first. I mean, Falkingham by 2 seconds over Schutt and Herczeg, but the rest of the pack has had their hands full tonight. We've already seen massive mistakes before we complete 10 laps in this race.
How about back here? This is John Berry trying to work his way into the 7th position over Spencer Ray. And again, all these, high caliber, very good drivers having their issues here at Road Atlanta just makes what Daniel Falkingham is doing way, way more impressive. It is a tough little trek around Road Atlanta in just a sports car here. I can't imagine a stock car. And these drivers, they are feeling it.
These two still going at it now, leaving turn 5, headed to turn 6, and John Berry still all over the back end now, going to go to the inside of the 6 in turn 6, and Spencer gives him room. That was interesting. That's an odd place to usually go for that pass, and that was a late move as well, but he gets it done. And I will say, we cover a lot of racing here at Pit Stop TV and a lot of road racing as well. In fact, last night we had Pacific Challenge at the Nürburgring. 2 nights ago we had Cross Series League racing at Spa. We're used to a lot more, I don't want to knock the NORC field, but I'm going to be honest, some more quality passes, some more previously thought out passes as Zach Lindgren going to go for a spin in 10A. Saves the race car, but is going to lose a lot of time. I think we'll see more of those more aggressive moves this evening from this NORC field. These are guys that don't run road quite as often. When they do, they pick up valuable experience and they learn how to control these stock cars on road, but they don't always pick up those other racecraft differences between oval and road racing. So I think we'll see a lot of oval stuff carry into this evening here, Eric. It's going to be a lot different from what we usually see with Cross Series League racing and Pacific Challenge.
That's a great point as far as driver etiquette when it comes to attacking a racetrack of this nature that we have here at Road Atlanta. And I will tell you, I'm going to give you credit, Andrew. You let us know that Aaron Smith was going to be someone to watch. He's not far behind this battle we're keeping our eye on here with Spencer Ray and Zach Lindgren. He is somebody who did not put a lap down in qualifying. He's got what looks to be some damage on the back bumper of that car. But let's go on board with someone who we penciled in as a potential favorite for tonight's race, as he has been working his way up through the field. And the best news for Smith is we'll remind all of our viewers we do have that halfway point caution coming in about 11 laps or so. So Smith is going to have a chance to erase that 23-second gap that he has to the race leader in Falkingham. But this is someone who appears, Emerson, to be a smooth operator when it comes to getting around this racetrack, not just with the steering wheel, but obviously with the throttle and brake pedal as well.
Oh, absolutely. You can see it in just how these 8.5 laps have gone for Aaron Smith. He essentially gridded last, and he's up into the top 10. He's catching, 3 cars ahead of him. He could put himself almost into the top 5 by that halfway caution. And then Falkingham, Hertzeg, Shutt, they better watch out. Aaron Smith is coming.
Watching Aaron Smith, he's only got a second actually now to Aiden Kirker. We've seen him a moment here for the 17 car. He was up in the top 3 a little while ago when Zoltan Hertzeg had his issues. We'll look back and see what maybe has happened to this 17 car. Aiden's somebody that's been kind of low on the radar this season, Eric. I think back to Michigan where he was caught up in some big incidents, but I've not really thought of the 17, no offense to him, as a front runner so far this season, 13. I think that's because he's new. I think that's because he's been quiet, but he has had quality starts, quality runs thus far, and we'll see where this mistake is made and he loses some time. Suddenly, he had that 70 car all in his mirrors.
Yeah, and right there, he just gets back to the gas a little bit too hard coming out of the exit of that chicane. Fortunately, this racetrack is relatively forgiving in a number of spots. Barely grazed the tire barrier there as he comes underneath the bridge to get back up to pace on this downhill run at the exit of turn 11 up to the final corner and on the main straightaway. But you're right, Andrew. When we talk about Kirker, he's somebody who we've taken notice of his presence in these fields. In fact, he's had 2 starts of the season so far, still looking for his first top 10 of the season. But that qualifying lap that he laid down was extremely impressive, and despite the spin, he still is running in the 9th position behind this duo who has yet to been able to separate in Spencer Ray and Zach Lindgren, with John Berry just a little bit further up the road.
Man, Spencer Ray had a huge moment there in 10A, was able to hold on to that 6 car through 10B, but that just, I think, entices Zach Lindgren more to continue to pile on that pressure, continue to force that 6 car to push that car a little harder than he wants here into the S's. This is going to be a fun little sight down the hill to see what happens. Aiden Kirker on the pit lane.
Aiden Kirker coming down for his service. We'll see what he does, but this battle's still rather hot down the S's, and Zach Lindgren all over this 6 car again. Lindgren, he has some experience here. He knows the more likely passing opportunities, the higher percentage places to pass here, and I think he's going to use a lot of that knowledge and sit back and just wait for his opportunity. He got that Skip Barber license and is putting it to use this evening. I'm talking him up a whole lot. He's got to move up a little bit higher in the standings, though. He is 7th spot right now behind Spencer Ray. We'll see if he can maybe get into that top 5. We've also got a battle brewing, it looks like, between Howie Briss and John Berry. They're getting a little bit closer. It looks like still a couple of seconds apart, I'll be honest. The 16 and the 18, they looked pretty familiar. They're pretty similar, rather, but they are trending a little bit closer. I think that 74 is turning things up later in this run.
Yeah, and here comes that big yellow dot in the field as somebody lots up there getting into the chicane. That might have been John Berry who slid the front tire there momentarily, but here comes Aaron Smith as we see Spencer Ray get a little bit loose off the corner again, just as Emerson said a lap ago. He's going to dive in the pit lane. That was an abrupt move to get on the pit entry. I thought he was losing control of that car, and he's going to pull Aaron Smith with him. So this is starting to answer our question as far as whether or not these drivers can make it on fuel. A couple of them are playing it a little bit conservatively here, including Aaron Smith, who's been one of the hardest chargers in this field tonight.
Yeah, Aaron Smith's going to come down here and get fresh tires to try to see what kind of advantage he can make on him. Actually, no fresh tires. He's down and away so quickly. And we watch Spencer Ray down in the pit box, and he's down and away as well. But it looks like they're splitting this race into thirds, or close to thirds at least. If you split 40, you get like 13 in the third to lap 12 here. They're trying to, I guess, some sort of strategy here. We'll see how this plays out. They might stay out at the halfway caution and then come in pit during that second part.
I think what we're going to see is these guys play these stages, if you will, around halfway. They're going to find where they want to pit, likely not take tires. We could still see somebody take tires in that latter half, but keep in mind, we're going to have caution laps that extend us into that second stage. It's unofficially a stage, a second segment of racing. I wonder if drivers are going to try and save and try and eliminate that later pit stop. Only time will tell. We'll see exactly what these drivers opt to do. But after Aaron Smith left the pit lane, he's right in front of this guy, Tom Mercier, coming off a couple of big season-building runs. He's now in the 8th position and staring at the back end of a yellow Chevrolet.
Yeah, and I also try to look through the field here. I'm surprised that Smith was able to get out as early as he did with that extremely short fill. But, I mean, remember, we had other drivers who came down early, like Tommy Gossett was one of the first to hit the pit lane. He's wired back in 13th, so Gossett apparently trying to play a bit of pit strategy to try to compensate what may not be the best pace he's had here so far, as you were on board with Tom Mercier, who got real loose there coming out of the chicane and through the final couple of corners. But here's Gossett running a paint scheme that many of us love, the old school throwback to Kyle Petty's early 1990s mellow yellow colors. And Gossett always has wonderful fresh paint on his car when he shows up with that Supra. And right now, I'm interested to see what his plan is, as we got a car off in front of him. Try to see who that may be as he merges back on here at turn number 2. That's Ariati, who's had an off.
Number 1 bites the dust down in turn number 1. Ariati not having the best of days, trying to keep himself alive in that battle for the top 10, who have to live to fight another day as we work lap 13 of 40 here. And I think Aaron Smith just came and pitted and gained a spot according to the time and score. And he's up to 7th when he was 8th before his pit stop.
We've seen some other pit stops, guys like Sheldon Lockie, Michael Keithley, they've dropped through the order. In fact, they've just pitted. I don't know if that has anything to do with it or not, considering they are a lap down, along with guys like Cody Miller, Hayes Booth. And it is worth mentioning, we have seen Aiden Kirker, and that's another one of those spots that Aaron would have gained. Aiden Kirker's now out of this race, it looks like. We've seen some other retirements. We've seen Tyler Justice leave. That may be due to weather as well. So if you're anywhere in this country that is experiencing that heavy weather as Zoltan Hergzeg comes down the pit lane, please be safe, because there is some scary stuff going on through the country. A lot of severe weather. It moved through our area today as well in North Carolina, so there is some scary stuff out there. Be safe if you are being impacted by it. But that may be what's caused Tyler Justice to park the race car this evening. Cole Freilich is also retired, along with Chad Oxendine, Josh Robin, and Brent Punkari. But you see the 96 working his way back onto the racetrack, also just ahead of Tom Mercier, but that means he is behind Aaron Smith, and it looks like he took full service. He took tires in this first pit. That's interesting.
Yeah, and it's finally going to give us a bit of a one-on-one gauge here. I mean, we know the pace that Smith has been able to set. Let's also not forget that Hergzeg ran the quick time in qualifying here earlier tonight. So this is going to be a great opportunity to see how much the tires matter, specifically in what is going to end up being a relatively short run. And I use that term lightly, considering the fact that he pitted after 14 laps. We're going to run about 6 laps to that halfway caution. But this is going to be a chance to see how much fresh rubber is going to matter here, because that may come into play at the break or shortly thereafter, as we watch Hergzeg trying to close up here on Smith, who's a little bit further up the road down this long back straightaway.
Yeah, I'll be watching the timing screen right now, but Aaron Smith ran a 126, and if he didn't take tires on that stop, that is impressive. That is about what, a second off what they ran in qualifying. That is a second off the fastest lap in this race on 15 lap old tires. That is very impressive. We're watching here Lindgren trying to keep in touch with John Barry here for the 4th position.
Zach Lindgren all over the back end of the 74 car. This would be for 4th currently. Granted, some pit stops have taken place. Another one as Tom Mercier comes in. We've also got Spencer Owens working down this long pit lane at Road Atlanta. And something that you could see in the track map, we'll even pull it back up momentarily, is the very interesting pit entry and pit exits. They're very fast, very treacherous as well. We've already seen this evening, especially on entry. But that pit exit is also going to catch some drivers out. And that pass is now completed for 4th spot. Zach Lindgren goes on by John Barry.
Yeah, so we haven't seen any movement yet by the front runners as far as Falkingham, Schutt, and Brisk, but we still got some great racing going on, like this fight here between Lindgren and Berry. And remember, Lindgren had that semi-spin a few laps ago, and he still finds himself up in top 4 contention after getting around John Berry, who was the runner-up in championship standings 1 year ago. And Berry's having a really strong run as well. He's somebody who didn't start fully up, got a problem up in front of him, though. They just passed a car that had spun on the exit of that chicane, and now Berry's going to elect to take this opportunity to come down and grab himself enough fuel to get him to the caution flag. And a problem here for what looks to be, let's see, not sure what car that may be, Emerson, but turn 1 bites again, it appears.
I believe that was Justin Ford by the colors of that car. Here we go into turn 1, and very wide into the corner, just goes straight off. It's tough. It is not an easy corner by any means. It's kind of deceiving how much speed you can carry to that corner, and I think that's what's really catching a lot of these drivers. Justin Ford, he'll just get his car back on the track and keep it going.
He had another little moment going off the racetrack, just a little bit once he got going again, but he gets back righted and on his way here. Lap 16 of 40, we're getting closer to that caution, and we saw Daniel Falkingham going for some long runs in practice. I wonder how close he can get if he can possibly go to that halfway break. He's got 6 seconds to work with if he wants to save fuel. We'll see what he does as time goes on. Coming around to take 4 laps to go in this first half before that caution flag. Behind, you see Tom Mercier and Spencer Owens. Spencer Owens just took 4 tires as well on his pit stop, so expect the number 12 Chevrolet Camaro to start making some headway in this run to the end. I've also noticed, of course, we have guys like John Berry. He has pitted. Tommy Gossett has worked himself actually now ahead of John Berry, and a pass right there in turns 6 and 7. And Tommy Gossett is now working north. He took his pit stop early, and it's paying off.
Yeah, Gossett able to make the most of that opportunity to try to get himself further up through the field by virtue of that pit stop. And I'll tell you, Andrew, I'm starting to rack my brain, and Emerson, you as well, thinking that this caution is going to be coming at about lap 20. At the end of lap 20 is Howie Brisk pulls the trigger to come down, overshoots his pit box, has to back up. That's going to cost him some time prior to that yellow flag. But what I'm thinking here is this is kind of setting the stage for a unique pit strategy in this second half. A lot of these drivers don't think they're going to be able to make it that far. But if you've made it this far with the caution laps, I'm wondering if perhaps stopping on that yellow is going to be able to allow you to make it the rest of the way. This is going to be fascinating to watch this unfold, as right now everybody's on a bit of a different agenda here, and some efforts are paying off for some, while we're still a little bit undetermined as far as what Falkingham, Schutt and company are going to do just yet.
I'm also curious to see, as I think Daniel Falkingham's coming in right now into the pit lane. I'm curious to see if people take full service now, if only coming around to 3 laps to go. Do they stay out on that caution? And if everybody has to pit in that second half of the race, they kind of just fall into where they will end up playing anyway. But here comes Daniel Falkingham down the pit lane.
And he's bringing David Schutt along with. We'll see if either one of these guys take tires. This could be an opportunity to take tires now, especially with the gaps some of these guys have, and not have to at our break. Falkingham does not go up on jacks, does not take tires. Does David Schutt go on the jacks? No. So these guys going fuel only, that means they will have to take tires, I would imagine, at our halfway yellow. We'll see what Zach Lindgren does as well in this 85 car.
Yeah, as Lindgren comes down to pit for service here, a couple laps shy of that upcoming caution. And again, I wouldn't be surprised if we see some drivers like to stay out, but the same thing, Andrew, with the tires scenario. You know, they have 2 sets in the pits. Why not come down and take them on the yellow? But we might see a couple of cars stay out and try to make it to the end, because if everybody's going to have to stop at least one more, being at the front of the field for that restart could end up being a huge power play for somebody if they're willing to gamble by staying out on older tires if they didn't take it the first time through. Oh, got a car sideways behind. That looked like it was John Berry, and it was, and he's able to save it. These drivers pushing very hard here leading up to the yellow in a couple laps.
Absolutely, trying to put themselves in the best position possible when it comes to restacking the field. Sean Williams gets service. He is down and away in the pit lane right now. Sean Williams was running inside the top 10. We'll see if he cycles out. It's still in the top 10 as he leaves pit exit.
Tommy Gossett all over Zach Lindgren. We'll see how this pays off for these 2 drivers. I got to be honest with you guys. Tommy Gossett has run a fantastic first half of this race. Rather quiet, He's just had a nice, solid run. A little bit loose there out of 7, but that's pretty normal in just about any race car. I've seen prototypes drift out of turn 7 before, so I just like what I've seen out of Tommy thus far this evening. He's usually a pretty aggressive driver, pretty young driver, wants to go for it a lot of well, anytime that he is on iRacing, but he's been very calm so far. Took that pit stop early. I like that strategy move. Get off sequence. You're not going to beat somebody by doing the exact same thing as them, so you've got to do something a little bit different. I like the move so far from this 54 car. We'll see how it pays off further on in this race. We know he's got to pit halfway, though. Some of these drivers maybe not planning on it. I would imagine that with the possibility of running from our caution to the end of this race, you've got to take fuel on this halfway break. I'm interested as to why some of these guys didn't then take tires, just come in for a quick fuel stop and try to exit at the front of the field. I would imagine we'll see everybody come in at this caution. I can't imagine why you wouldn't.
Yeah, as we got, it looks like that might have been Spencer Owens going for a bit of an off there as they came through turn 7. And I just want to add one more thing to your point about Tommy Gossett. The strategy that he has elected to pull here as we watch Daniel Falkingham continue to lead this field down towards the chicane. That takes so much patience, what Gossett was able to put together by running his own race from so early on. That is a road racing strategy that for many of these stock car racers who spend a lot of their time on ovals, they oftentimes will not invest that level of effort into. And Gossett pretty much committed full send very early on that this was his strategy and he was going to stick to it. And he would have to make it work for him. And he's gotten himself up here in 8th place as Falkingham comes to the line here to begin lap 20. So we may see the yellow flag at the end of this circuit as we drop back to a battle here between Spencer Ray and Zach Lindgren. These two are married to one another here right now at this point in the race as we got a big off up in front of them.
And Cody Miller's just gone through the grass. Sheldon Lockie as well. It looks like Miller, is he got a pit right here? He is. So he'll come into the pit lane right at the end of this run to this halfway caution. Now, these are not being operated like normal NASCAR stages, so I don't think that'll be a penalty for coming in too close to the break. We'll see what happens up here in 10A for Cody Miller and then Sheldon Lockie. And this is very interesting between these drivers. And Emerson, this is, I think, tires starting to wear out.
Yeah, I mean, if you didn't take tires on your stop here, these are 20-lap tires that have undergone a lot, and I think it just maybe clipped the curb there as well, but also Sheldon Lockie having trouble there. This also could just be physical fatigue.
It's hard to say, but we are into the final moments of this first run to our first caution flag. Now, if you don't know, iRacing does not automatically throw caution flags on road races. It's usually just local yellows. So just localized to whatever corner there's an incident in. And it's very hard, if not impossible, to draw an iRacing caution. There is our caution of this race right as Daniel Falkingham comes around to complete lap number 20. So this is admin thrown. It will not be controlled. You can gain and lose positions during this pit stop. We'll see how these drivers treat this opportunity to change up their strategy, and you see why it was thrown so early, because I like this. This is a note that a lot of league owners, I think, need to take in mind. That times it perfectly to fall in right behind the pace car.
Yeah, that's a great call by the race officials and the people who are overseeing tonight's event. And look at the running order. I mean, we talked about differing strategies. Falkingham and Schutt pretty much been on an island of their own. The pole sitter, Herczeg, by virtue of a couple of off-track incidents, up to 3rd. Aaron Smith from Shotgun on the field. He kind of did his own thing a little bit there, made up a lot of time on the track, made up a good bit of time on the pit lane. And Howie Brisk quietly rounding out our top 5. And the storylines continue throughout the rest of the top 10. But that was only the first chapter. We've got this second half that we're about to see unfold, and depending on it when we restart, that may tell us a lot as far as these drivers and what they're going to have to do to make it to the end. And Emerson, I'm really interested to see what the choice is here by this field, whether it be to come down now, wait till later on in the race, not sure why you would, and if the drivers elect to take tires and what it's going to do to this running order that we just highlighted here at the time of the yellow flag.
Yeah, I can't imagine if you didn't take tires in that first half that you're not going to take tires here. It'll be interesting to see. Now, drivers who did take tires, maybe did they only take fuel only, consider taking tires later, or just run to the end on their 20-some-odd lap tires? Granted, some of those laps under caution, but I'm going to say these cars are going to be really quiet the next couple laps after they leave pit lane.
Drivers out of this race so far. If you're just joining us for the first time, this is NORC the NORC iRacing Series, season number 13, race number 6 on the season. Hayes Booth is out of this one. Michael Keithley as well, Aiden Kirker, Tyler Justice, Cole Freilich, Chad Oxendine, Josh Robin, Brett Pancari. Daniel Falkingham has led the entirety of this race to this point. Pit stops are likely going to be underway right here. We'll see if anybody stays out. That 12 car staying out is lapped. That is Spencer Owens. All of the lead lap cars coming in.
And you see David Shutt right on the rear spoiler of Falkingham as they come into the pit lane, knowing that this stop is going to matter, and this may be one of the best opportunities to leapfrog that 20 car for the first time tonight. The whole crew, in fact, the whole field is going to be on the same agenda, as Aaron Smith is going to be one of the first to hit the pit lane by virtue of where he started tonight. Falkingham will have the all-important second pit stall as you see Herzeg assume pit position number 1 after he claimed the pole in qualifying earlier tonight. Now we patiently await to see when these drivers pull off. You see 4 tires going on for Herzeg, as well as Falkingham, as well as Shutt. They're all out and away, and I think, Emerson, you guys hit the nail on the head. Looks like everybody took one of their sets of tires here on this stop.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm curious to see people taking tires on that first stint and then tires here. That means that they are out of tires if they've taken 2 sets of tires already. So they're not going to have any tires for that final pit stop. Granted, at that point, it looks like it's going to be a very, very quick splash and go towards the end of this race, the way it's playing out.
I noticed Tommy Goss had a very long pit time, in fact, to the tune of 1 minute, 3 seconds total lane time, 38 seconds in the box. That means he was likely taking care of some repairs. I don't see much damage on that 54 car, so I can't imagine that it was anything heavy, likely just catching a curb or something, damaging one of the sides of his car. Of course, those side skirts, all important to grip in these NASCAR Xfinity Series machines. Daniel Falkingham working his way down the backstretch. We'll let these drivers settle in. We're not going to talk to them under this one caution period. We'll catch up with these guys post-race, but I do want to mention, I was putting some stats together last night, as per usual, Falkingham just ran square in the back of Cody Miller, and I'm going to take a replay on this because this actually could impact the rest of this race depending on how hard this impact was. We'll take a look back. This is Daniel Falkingham, and how hard does he hit Cody Miller right here? He hit him pretty good. He had to have been checking another monitor. That is going to have a lot of an effect on that 20 car. That is heavily going to impact his straight line speed. I mean, that is a lot of damage.
This is a very interesting development in this race here, and you saw there right on the front valence, or the front splitter I should say, as well as the front bumper of the 20 car, taking a pretty significant hit there. Not sure what the agenda was. Again, these drivers might be letting the cars coast a good bit down that long straightaway. Miller may have been doing the same, trying to assure that he has enough fuel towards the end of this race. He's going to be able to get waved around here to assume the tail end of the pack, and he's only got 1 lap to make his way back up through the field, but he might have been coasting a bit there to try to save some fuel, and Falkingham just wasn't anticipating that car to slow down and perhaps may not have been paying attention, and that's a huge variable to throw into this mix for the driver who's been so dominant here tonight, Emerson.
Yeah, a lot of things can happen there. Maybe, I mean, you shouldn't do it, but sometimes you've ran, 35 good hard minutes, just, a quick check of the phone notifications or something. I don't know. That was very awkward, to say the least. I don't know how much impact it's going to have on Falkingham's pace. Granted, he's had very good pace today, but with these drivers hot on his tail, he might be falling into the clutches of some of these drivers on this restart.
It's lap 23 of 40. As you can see, pace car lights are out. We should take green flag this next time through. I want to get back to that stats kind of moment that I had mentioned right quick, and I put several stats together for us to bring up, and something that I've noticed a lot so far this season is how average finish has changed throughout the season. Daniel Falkingham currently at a 3.4. Anthony Emery with just his 1 start last week of 4. Tyler Justice, he was at 5.6 after dropping from 2.75. Goes to 5.6 after last week. Oxendine, 6.5. Herzeg, 7.2. These guys have been averaging in the top 10. I don't think that's going to change this evening. We've also got multiple top 5s on the season. I mean, Tyler Justice had 4 coming into tonight. We won't add to that number, but we'll see. I'm sure David Shutt, Daniel Falkingham, Zoltan Herzeg add to that list. Chad Oxendine may as well. And then I also put together Road Atlanta track records. We only have 1. We usually get track records for anytime NORC has raced at a racetrack previously in their history. And through 13 seasons now, this is only the second time that we've come to Road Atlanta. The previous time that we came here, the fastest lap the entire race day was set by Scott List Rambler, no surprise there, in a NASCAR Xfinity Camaro 2014. It was in 2018, though, just the older version of the car. 86 seconds, that's a minute 26. We are close to and past that. These guys are faster this evening. Green flag back out, and this is our second little segment of racing. A big bobble out of Daniel Falkingham taking the green. Cold tires certainly going to be the forefront of these drivers' minds.
Yeah, you see, even with that potential front-end damage, he's gotten himself out to about a 2-car length advantage over David Shutt. But here comes that yellow car of Aaron Smith II, third in this race, despite a little bit of crinkled up rear bumper body work there on that car. But Smith has gotten that car pointed in the right direction, and he is heading in the right direction as far as the timing and scoring order. And he's closing up on Shutt here for what may be a move for second, if he can get him here, not only on the far side of the course, but down the backstretch towards the chicane.
If that 20 car is hurting, we're going to see it here on these straightaways, because honestly, if there's front end damage, if it reduces some power, it might help to those technical sections. But this long straightaway is where we're going to see it, if there is any effect to that 20 car. And Aaron Smith, he has been absolutely on rails up in the third. It is time to light up that 70 car if he wants any shot at this win.
So Falkingham working into 10A for the first time with that front-end damage. It looks like he's doing all right. Not too much compromised front-end downforce. I don't imagine that there would be too much compromised grip on the front of the race car. It is iRacing. It's very close to real life, but not everything can be simulated perfectly. I'd imagine it still feels okay, but he was sideways there through turn 12, as is how he breasts in most of the field. Man, you can see everybody just getting out of shape. That's why I love those camera shots, looking down a straightaway like that. Falkingham still leading this race, and Aaron Smith on the offensive of David Shutt, but he's got to worry about Zoltan Herkzag from behind. These guys working lap 25 of 40. We should see a straight sprint to the finish here, Eric, as long as these guys made sure to take a full tank of fuel.
And that big slide that we saw from some of the front runners makes me think that with the fresh tires, the confidence level is up on all these cars. However, that level of grip is going to start to fade as we put some laps in here, and that's where we may start to see drivers overstep their boundaries once again. It's bitten a few of our front runners already tonight, and we may see more of it as the battle for second spot intensifies off turn 7. Aaron Smith is there trying to get by David Shutt for the runner-up spot, while Falkingham extends the lead to 1 second ahead of him as they come down the far side of the course once again.
A slipstream fest down this back stretch as we approach the chicane. Aaron Smith is not close enough this time to make anything happen, but he might be able to eat something up here in the braking zone. They'll stay the same as they enter turn 10A. Daniel Falkingham, and again, Daniel Falkingham got up to a 6-second lead at one point. Maybe he was able to save some fuel to work his way to 17 laps in that first stint. If he's not able to break away from these guys, he might have to run a little bit harder, and that could put that fuel number in jeopardy as Tommy Gossett has an issue here.
Tommy Gossett, we were praising his patience earlier on. Even Anthony Masati from LTAC chimed in about that strategy that he was taking. It certainly gave him a lot of clean racetrack in the first run to that halfway yellow. This time we see him, oh my gosh, back it right into that one piece of tire barrier. But you know what? It's better to hit the tire stack than to hit that concrete wall, Eric. But it is going to damage that 54 car just a little bit, and then he stops and he tows. That's unfortunate. Man, you got to keep running, and I will always, always commend a driver for keeping at it throughout a race, no matter the adversity. I will also have to then detract from a driver if they don't.
Yeah, and I agree with you there because, I mean, we saw that one mistake by a car that's been so fast. Look at this fight for second, though. They just accordion back together here with the front four. But I'm with you, Andrew. I got to say, you know, that mistake that he made, it could be made times 2 by the rest of the field here throughout the duration of these final 14-plus laps. So I would have stuck with it, especially with Gossett being 10th in the championship points right now. Remember, top 12 are going to make this run of the chase, so the playoffs at the end of the season. So that's something that they got to keep in mind as well. And for Gossett to end up towing his way on back, I mean, hopefully that was a required tow by him, but I believe he could have kept that thing rolling. But that was definitely one of the biggest hits we've seen so far tonight. But how about this race at the front of the field? 4 cars all separated by about 1.5 seconds in this battle for the lead and win.
Absolutely. I want to say I believe Tommy Gossett has disconnected from the session. But if you need to be sold about stock cars on road courses, folks, I think these 4 drivers are about to put on the show that you need to be sold, because this is going to be good. Look at them work through these S's here. Daniel Falkenham continues to hold the point, but for how much longer? Of a hungry David Schutt, Aaron Smith, and Zoltan Hertzeg close proximity to the back end of that 20 car.
Daniel Falkingham works out of turn 5. You see how high the noses of these cars lift. I always liked that as a kid growing up and watching NASCAR. I still like it today as a full-blown adult, just watching these cars pick up the noses on throttle and drop back down into corners. It's not quite as drastic here in these NASCAR Xfinity cars at Road Atlanta, but it's still so cool to see the noses hike up on throttle, and you can see underneath that race car. That's a shot I always like, but Falkingham leading this little train of 4, and they've got a big gap back to Howie Briss, Zach Lindgren, and more, and it looks like John Barry's got a problem back in turn 7. He's got more problems. Gets that car sideways again. Watch out, Ariati. Watch out, Justin Ford. And Revan Lateralis going to take a little spin.
Boy, John Berry, I mean, if I think back to Daytona, this has not been the season that he was hoping for. Only 1 top 5 coming into tonight's race, including 3 top 10s as well. And he appeared to be working his way up through the field in the first half of this race, but the second half has not been so kind. This is coming up on the far side of the course here. The right-hander at turn 6. A lot of momentum, a lot of curbing. Runs up a little bit wide here. Now there's that secondary right-hander, and a lot of rear brake is going to send that 74 around. Spins out of the racing groove, and then lit up the tires a little bit too much here, and ended up going for another slide. As you mentioned, Ariati doing a great job to get by. But wow, for Berry, that cost him what, 5, maybe 6 spots on the racetrack, and the opportunity to make those positions up is growing slim.
Yeah, as more and more drivers disconnect, there's only so many more cars on the lead lap, and with that mistake, he's got to make up a lot of time as well to get back to some of his competition. And again, this top 3, they just get closer and closer every time we get back to them. Aaron Smith keeping David Schutt honest. David Schutt keeping Daniel Falkingham on. His Zoltan Hertzeg is falling off a little bit. This could also be maybe him just letting these boys play it out and see if he can maybe take advantage of something later on.
And we're not the only ones noticing this slide for Falkingham so far. We've got people in chat talking about it, and even Masadi thinking that this damage might become more influential on his pace as time goes on and as these tires wear out. Ooh, Schutt was looking like he was going to pit there for a moment. It looks like no, he's going to stay on the racetrack, of course. I don't expect any pit stops, this little run to the finish. Smith a little bit in the dirt there. But you know what? If there's anybody in this field that I think can handle that, it would be Aaron Smith. This top 4 is still going at it, all within about a second and a half of one another, as Zoltan Hertzeg, I think, is falling just a tiny little bit. But the other thing I think that is impacting Daniel's pace, I think, is honestly just the fact that he might have gotten inside of his own head with that contact with Cody Miller, and the possibility now that he could have some damage that hinders the rest of his run. I wonder if he's just psyched himself out and is now trying to get back in the zone.
Yeah, and we could see as these laps click off, these drivers are pushing in ways in which I don't think we've seen some of these front runners push all night long, and that's because we're entering go time. And I mean, we're still able to see Falkingham just this last lap be able to open up that lead to about the margin that he was able to set here after the initial restart from the caution flag, and the attention now turns back to the battle for second. But Falkingham surely did struggle for about a lap or lap and a half that allowed the field to tighten back up, but he appears to be finding his rhythm yet again. And I mean, Emerson, on a racetrack like this, where these cars, as we've talked about all night, ultra sensitive to not only braking but getting back to the power, on a racetrack that has this much elevation change, how important is it to be in a groove or a rhythm, or to just kind of get some muscle memory going as you're trying to log laps on a racetrack that can catch you off guard quite easily?
It absolutely is. And there's so many factors, keeping the tires happy, keeping yourself happy. If you make a mistake, like what happened there with Cody Miller running into the back of him under caution, it gets in your head, and then it can affect your performance. But Falkingham is slowly getting back to it. Last couple laps, he's ran fastest out of the top 4. But the laps before, Schutt, Aaron Smith, they were running faster laps than Falkingham. I think Falkingham's trying to get back into that rhythm, and we might see just how important it is to find that rhythm here as Tom Mercier is on the pit lane.
And this track is getting a little bit cooler, actually, as clouds overtake the virtual Brazelton, Georgia area. I wonder if the track is just getting greasy at this point. A lot of hot rubber around this 2.54 mile road course, and I wonder if it's just starting to get greasy. Grip is starting to lessen a little bit. We can even look at the weather, and it's not all that warm. It's 69 degrees, 75 degrees on the racetrack. I really do believe that it's just getting greasy out there, Eric. I think these drivers are going to have to challenge for grip as this race goes on. I don't think it's going to get any better, of course. And cold racetracks on road usually is not actually what you want. I think it's certainly better on oval because you don't heat the tires up as much, but that racetrack retains all that heat. That's why you want a cold racetrack. When it comes to road, it's quite the opposite. You're running so many fewer times through a corner. You just don't have the same opportunity. There's fewer cars usually as well. You don't have that same opportunity to heat the track up, and you want to retain some heat in the racetrack. You want the sun to do its work.
Yeah, and as these drivers continue to work their way through this tire cycle, I mean, we saw how a lot of competitors were on ice, basically, towards the tail end of the first run that brought us to the yellow flag at the halfway point. And these drivers are going to be pushing to a limit and an element that they have not done all night. I mean, the pay window is within reach. As David Schutt briefly blinks out of the service, hopefully he's able to come back into play here, and he does. But, I mean, these drivers are really going to start to attack these corners differently because of how important it is that the hourglass is running out, and we are approaching the checkered flag in this race, now in the final quarter distance mark, and we're starting to see everybody come back together again, and this is where mistakes tend to pop up for some of these front runners, and with everybody running so close, the slightest slip of a driver who's leading this train could turn into something massive.
Absolutely, and I keep looking at the lap times. Falkenham ran the slowest out of the top 4 drivers that last lap. Hertzega 26.9 to Falkenham's 27.3, the biggest margin between them, and then Smith with 27.1 and Schutt 27.0. Just Falkenham needs to hold on to what he's got, and it's hard when you're under this kind of pressure by 3 very capable drivers. It is hard to not look in that mirror and to not get distracted. Falkenham doing what he's got to do, but also at the same time, how long can David Schutt just keep tailing this 20 car?
And how about David Schutt? We have not talked about him that much this season, but this number 5 car is in a fantastic spot to try and overtake Daniel Falkenham in the closing laps and make a show out of this finish. He's got a great opportunity at his first win of the season, and if we go to the all-times win list as well, he could definitely use a boost up in that category. He comes in this evening just 4 wins, right where Daniel Falkenham started this season. He could boost himself up and tie Josh Robin and Jared Darling this evening. We'll see what David can do. But I just like everything I'm seeing from David Schutt tonight. Very calm, very relaxed behind the wheel, or so it seems at least, where we usually know David to be a very aggressive driver. Certainly wants to make that move early and make it often. I like the patience we've seen so far and just keeping that car under control.
Yeah, and that level of aggression was evident back at our season opener at Daytona, where he was going top side, bottom side, doing everything possible to try to make some moves until he eventually got swept up in an accident. We're also about to see something here that we have not seen in quite some time, at least not at this point in the race, not till the tail end of the last run that we had, and that is a lap car that is up ahead of these leaders. Not sure if it's going to be an immediate factor, but if they catch that car at a difficult spot like coming through the S's, that could certainly slow things down for Falkenham and company. I expect the lap car of Cody Miller to be polite to the race leaders, but boy, wherever they catch Miller, who ironically was also our winner back at Daytona, that's going to play a bit of a role here as far as who approaches what corner with what level of confidence and tenacity. And I think we're about to see this all unfold here as the fight for the lead ratchets up even more so.
Absolutely. If they can catch him just on the exit of these S's, but they're coming out quick, they might catch him here at the back half of these S's. Oh, big moment. Cody Miller's going to go off the track. Keep it out the track. Keep it off the track. Oh, my goodness. The top 4 will make it by. I think everybody who saw Cody Miller go off in front of their windshields all had their heart skip a beat.
That was a good catch by Mel right there, to not let that car come back in front of the entirety of our lead battle. That could have been disastrous to any one of these 4 or all 4 of these drivers. Now working about 7.5 laps to go out of turn 7. That could have been so treacherous right there. But we continue on. Falkenham still leading. Schutt still second. Smith still third. And Hertzeg still in that 4th spot. And Zoltan might have something here. He's getting rather close, or he was looking at least to the left side of Smith. He may just be waiting for an opportunity ahead, for something to happen ahead in order to pounce.
Yeah, let's not forget that even though Falkingham has led about every lap in this race, it was Herczeg who set the quick time in qualifying by over 0.4 of a second, so he knows how to lay down a flyer on this track, and he has proven it time and time again. Been very patient when it comes to racecraft after a slight mistake early in the going in this one. And how about just the overall competitive nature of the E-Sport? They've got 11 seconds over Zach Lindgren, who rounds out the top 5. But I'm sure that once we start to mix things up here, it's going to get a little bit wild as Schutt falls back into the clutches of Smith, as now the battle for second is a nose-to-tail freight train, with Falkingham opening up that second advantage again from the race lead.
If Aaron Smith is going to make this move, he has to make it quick. The longer these three start getting preoccupied with one another, the more that Falkingham can relax and kind of run his own pace and drive away. You see that gap, 0.9 of a second. Aaron Smith backs off into turn 6, a Schutt a little sideways on that corner entering to 6, but that could also just be how this car is just taking these corners off of turn 7 here. Now Aaron Smith under attack from Herczeg. Herczeg trying to go for third.
And Aaron Smith, he almost got into the back end of David Schutt that time into turn 7. That heavy right-hander, and quite simply, he had to kind of check himself up and went to the outside of Schutt for a moment, lost time on the outside, and that's why Zoltan Herczeg took that spot away. You mentioned Zach Lindgren solidified himself into 5th. He was battling with Howie Briss for quite a while, but Eric, he has now kind of gapped that 97 car. The only other battle that I really see is between these two, John Barry. I completely spaced for a moment, but Ariati, John Barry going at it. This is for the 9th position, 9th and 10th of the racetrack as they continue to battle.
Yeah, well, this fight continues on, and we are watching these two cars, which almost came together after Barry had a spin earlier. Timing and scoring is showing that Zoltan Herczeg has gotten up to 2nd. So David Schutt was holding down that spot, but Herczeg has been able to pick up 2 spots here on the last lap or so. And the car that started on the inside of row number 1, trying to get himself back up to where he brought this field to green. And this is how he got the job done. Schutt was up ahead of him through the chicane. Big sliding off there. And as Schutt rejoins the racetrack, Herczeg kept his foot on the loud pedal. They almost touched under the bridge, and Herczeg got 2nd away.
Oh my goodness, how tight they got coming over to crest there at turn 11. Oh man, that also shows just how important it is for Schutt to keep 2nd. He knew if he wanted his shot at Falkingham, he needs to keep everybody else behind him. But now, as Herczeg's driving away, Aaron Smith trying to find his ways. We'll keep watching the replay. Actually, Schutt just a little too much to turn 10A and has to give up that spot here, but holding on to 3rd for the time being.
That was definitely a block there from David Schutt. He knew that he needed to keep Zoltan back behind him, and it didn't work out, so promote that 96 back up to 2nd place, and suddenly he's got the best opportunity to go up there and catch Daniel Falkingham. Now, if you go back 1 week, I know everything was completely different at Kentucky Speedway, but keep in mind, Zoltan Herczeg was the one driver to keep his tires in piece better than anybody else and to drive up there and take Falkingham out of that race lead. He was simply best on the long run, went up there, won the race. Can he do it 2 weeks in a row? 5 laps to find out.
And as of right now, Daniel Falkingham's weak point appears to be this first half of the racetrack. Coming through the S's is where Herczeg has been able to make up about 0.3 of a second just this lap alone. However, Falkingham appears to be able to gain some of that gap back as he comes out of turn 7 and down the long back straightaway, even with that nose damage, and is able to maintain the lead for now, although Herczeg is starting to chip away at it slowly. And Aaron Smith, he knows that this is his time to get going. He's all over the backside of David Schutt here for 3rd, while the top 2 start to drive further out in front. If Smith wants a shot at a race win, he's got to get going now.
Absolutely. I will say, when it comes to this battle for third, David Schutt's pace has definitely fallen off, but he's fast in all the right places. Aaron Smith just catches him, and he's only able to search for a line, but he doesn't really have the opportunity to make the overtake just based on where he catches Schutt. Now can he get the run out of turn 10B? Here they come over to crest through 11 and now 12. Aaron Smith's got a great run, but can he do anything with it?
Aaron Smith now going to maybe look to the inside, thinks better of it into turn 1. Definitely not a high percentage passing opportunity, and Aaron Smith knows it. Now he'll climb up to turn 2, looking at that light pole that's always a reference for drivers here, and he turns in, and just stays right on the back end of David Shutt. This also not a place to go side by side, not a place to pass. You've got to do it in a heavier braking zone. Turn 6 will be his next good opportunity. We'll see if he can do anything with it. Around the left-hander of 5, and up and over that curb pad, and just does not get the power down like he needed to, but he could still try and send it. Into turn 6. No, he stays right in behind David Shutt. When does the opportunity come for Aaron Smith to get up onto the podium?
And we've seen Shutt make a mistake before. In fact, it's coming up at the next part of the racetrack here at the end of this long straightaway leading up to the chicane at turns 10A and 10B. That is where Shutt had the off earlier that cost him second. Smith is hoping for something similar. One thing we may also start to see in some of this close racing is drivers take defensive lines, which means that they will be entering the corner in an angle and a position which they may not have done all night long. So far, Shutt is electing to take his normal entry into the corners, but if Smith is able to get a good enough of a run, maybe on the main straightaway, we might see him start to protect towards the inside line on the racetrack. But right now, these two remain about 2 car lengths apart as they come back onto the front stretch, put another lap on the board, and Herczeg got another 1/10 of a second off the leader, while this battle for third stays nose to tail.
Yeah, these two, they continue to run consistent lap times with one another. Actually, Aaron Smith about half a second slower than Shutt. That could be just because he's being held up by the 5 car, he feels at least. All over the back end, down the hill through the S's, trying to get any advantage he can, especially out of 5. Whoa, a wobble from Shutt!
And that's it. That's the opportunity Aaron needed. Up the inside in turn 5. Not usually a passing zone, but he's going to try and make it work. A drag race down to turn 6. Aaron Smith on the outside. David Shutt on the inside. What's going to happen? And Shutt heavy into the braking zone sideways. The crossover from Aaron Smith. That was perfect from Aaron. He's going to take that 3rd spot, but David crosses him back up, and they stay side by side out of 7.
This is about as good as it gets without major disaster between these two. It's Aaron Smith on the inside. It's going to be Shutt outside as they approach the chicane. We've already seen these drivers be very hard on the brakes while battling for this spot. Who's going to get on the binders first, and will it stick? Shutt trying to fade down drivers left to cement himself back up in a 3rd spot. Smith holds a fender inside, and Shutt's going to fend him off for now, and Smith comes back down to the bottom.
We're not done yet, baby. Aaron Smith giving everything he's got, but back to the familiar position of riding behind the 5 car. Through turn 12, but this time he's as close as ever. Does he have any chance to pull out into 1 who he's going to ride behind? But wow, beautiful crossovers from both of them throughout the course of that last lap.
Popsicle sticks that time by from Barney the Flagman. 2 laps to go at Road Atlanta, and Aaron Smith still all over David Shutt. The gap ahead is growing to Zoltan Herczeg and to Daniel Falkingham. Starting to walk away is that 20 car. No battle up there just yet. We will stay with 3rd and 4th as these two continue to go at it. John Barry, Ariati, they also battle, but here we go. Aaron Smith, a big run out of 5. You saw the bobble for the 5 car, and now Aaron Smith back on the outside for turn 6. Around the outside, he locks up. He's going to drift and saves it.
This is unbelievable. I have not seen 2 cars battle so hard and get so sideways on more than one occasion than these two. It's for 3rd place in this event while Falkingham continues to nurse that 1.3 second lead, but they're on the back straightaway once again, and this battle's going to go all the way to the checkered flag if these drivers do not lose their race cars. Smith in the slipstream, down to the end of the backstretch, late on the braking, trying to close up to the back bumper of Shutt here for a podium spot, and Shutt gets a good drive off the corner.
I gotta say, beautiful, beautiful defense from David Shutt. Aaron Smith is running out of options on how he can attack this 5 car. But wow, as they come on to the final lap of this race, this is gonna be some last hurrahs out of the 70.
What's going to happen in turn 1? He waits in behind, and up ahead, things still very calm for the race lead. We'll update you on that soon, but we just can't leave this battle yet because Aaron's got to find a way by. We know he wants that spot. Do we see a bumper laid into turn 2 and down the S's for the final time tonight at Michelin Raceway, Road Atlanta? The lap car of Spencer Owens up ahead. How does that change this battle? Who knows? We're going to find out. Into turn 5 for the final time. The 5 car holds steady this time. No opportunity yet. The 70 bobbles very sideways on the throttle, and they'll go by that lap car. Sideways again is Aaron Smith, and they hold steady into turn 6. Falkingham exits turn 7, still the race leader by a second. He's not quite out of this just yet, Eric, but it's looking closer.
Yeah, so far Falkingham appears that he could be home free. He's only got 4 corners left to go. The chicane that lies ahead. The pole sitter a second and a half behind as he's got just 4 corners left to go for his 3rd victory of the season.
Last time through the chicane for Daniel Falkingham, a phenomenal drive, and he'll work his way through 10B for the final time. Zoltan Herzeg, try as he might, not going to get there.
It's just not going to happen for any of these drivers this evening. He lost his father last week, and he's got to be feeling the emotions this evening. He wanted that win, and he gets it this evening. Daniel Falkingham wins at Road Atlanta. The epic finish behind, but it's all the 20 car up front. I feel this one for Daniel Falkingham. I really feel it. Well, we'll take a replay on this battle for 3rd, but it's Daniel's night.
Yeah, we're going to go back and see how this race for the 3rd spot came to its conclusion as we were watching Aaron Smith and David Schutt just go at it, and it came off of the final corner. This is going into the chicane. Schutt holds the spot. Smith's going to try and close up here. And as they get back on the power, this is the last run down the hill, setting up to 11. You see Smith trying to set him up here and get underneath him in his last-ditch effort. Boy, that's oh wow! I don't know. I don't know if he meant to tag him in the back end or if he was just trying to beat him off the corner. After that 5 was loose getting into the corner all night long, but that was an amazing finish. It's Schutt who holds on for that 3rd spot. Smith has to settle for 4th, but that was some good stuff, Emerson.
Absolutely. We'll take another replay here into the chicane the final time, and I think this is the last time Aaron Smith was off the throttle. I think he kept it pinned right out of here. Look at how close that 5 car was. He just felt he could get it. He's just going to keep it pinned through turn 12.
There was never contact there. Aaron Smith just sent it, couldn't quite get there onto the Motul flag stand, and he has to settle for the 4th position, just barely off the podium this evening. But again, I got to stress, this is Daniel's night. This is a big one for Daniel Falkingham to come through this evening to grab this race win, despite last week, despite getting beat at Kentucky and all of the emotions he must have felt. This one has got to hit harder, and I can only feel sympathetic for this driver of the 20 car. This has got to be a big one for the driver out of Maine. Lobster 207 on the side of his car. He wears that Maine badge proudly. He wins it this evening. The first of 3 wins. Nobody else has even 2. This is big for Daniel.
Yeah, and I got to say, it was something that we all knew coming into this race, and we talked about it before we came on air, and we wanted the topic of conversation to be the race, because this is the best medicine for anybody who has had to go through what Daniel and his family have had to experience over the last 7 days, and he has somehow found a way to still harness his talents as an incredible sim racer. He has put himself, not only penciled himself as the driver to beat this series this season, but I would say that he has written it now in pen, and if he keeps this up, we could pretty much just start to engrave the trophy at this point, playoffs and all still to go. This is a driver whose level of confidence has been at an all-time high, despite how difficult this last week has been on a track as tough as Road Atlanta. This is incredible, and I'm with you. This is certainly Daniel's night, and I hope that he takes the time to truly enjoy this for all it's worth, because it was a remarkable performance by this driver.
Absolutely. You could physically, or you could virtually see him just soak it all in with that cool-down lap, coming down to 15 miles per hour, just letting all the emotions run over, and he's just going to come to rest here at the start-finish line.
And usually, if you guys are often, or I guess frequent viewers of Pit Stop TV, you'll know we usually take a break before we're talking to a driver. I'm going to talk to this guy now. I want to grab Daniel Falkingham, and I want to catch some of this emotion. And Daniel, buddy, this is a big one. You drove your heart out this evening. What was going through your head those last few laps?
Just trying not to lock up a tire, try to keep the rear tires hooked up on exit, try not to make a mistake. I know Schutt, Aaron, Zoltan were all breathing down my neck, and then Schutt and Aaron were having their exchange, and then that left me to get a gap on Zoltan. He was gaining on me there for a few laps, but I was able to even it back out. Wish I wasn't in that kind of a battle because I gave damage to myself under caution when I ran in the back of Mel when we were catching the pace car and gave myself no damage, so I think that was hindering my pace a little bit. But and nonetheless, I guess we made it exciting, and boy, I wanted this one badly, and I had to earn it. So man, this is huge.
And we can hear it in your voice a little bit. I'm just going to be frank with you. We hear it in your voice. Not quite as energetic as we usually hear Daniel Falkingham in the 20 car. We saw the news last week, and I want to offer my condolences. I want to offer whatever I can up to the Falkingham family. We saw the news, and I have no clue what it must be like to battle through this evening. I don't even want to ask you how it was wearing on you, but just how did you attack this evening, coming off of what happened at Kentucky last week and what happened afterwards as well? Just how are you doing, I guess, in general, Daniel, and how did you attack this evening?
Pretty much, the way I attacked it just had one goal, and that was to win the race. Pretty much I've been saying this to myself all through this, but the racing is a sport I love, and it's pretty much the one thing that'll get me off my mind of what happened the last week and whatnot. So, and it's something me and my dad enjoyed together as well. So I knew he'd want me to go on and race, and that's what we did tonight. I really wanted to win a Sim 500 race last night, but I got wrecked by a lap car 3 laps down. But so I decided to try to look forward to tonight. I knew I love road course racing. I knew this was a good chance to win, get another win, and I wanted to win this one more than ever, for the obvious reasons. But definitely had to put on a show and had to make it interesting. But I'm really glad we were able to get it done tonight, and I appreciate the condolences as well.
Buddy, I wish I could reach through the mic and give you a hug, but let's move on from that. Let's put that back out of mind for a minute, and I want to get back to talking about the racing this evening. You mentioned hitting Cody Miller under pacing, under our one caution of the evening. We saw it happen. We saw the damage that could have posed to you. Did that affect your race car? And if so, what were you trying to do defensively to stay ahead of these guys, as you had 3 of the best in this series bearing down on you for the entirety of that back half of the race?
Yeah, it was interesting. That damage, I knew I hit Mel. I hit him pretty hard, especially under caution. And then once I saw my nose pretty much popped in the air, kind of like what Chase Elliott's nose looked like during the Atlanta race a couple weeks ago. So that was definitely, I think, hindering me on the straightaways a lot, probably down to 1-2 mile an hour. And through the corners, I felt all right because I had the clean air, and just if I didn't make a mistake through the corner, if I could hit my marks, I knew with the long straightaways I could hold my own and whatnot. So. Definitely felt good. Definitely being out front was key, because definitely if I was like back in second, third, or fourth, I probably wasn't going to be able to pass them back and whatnot. So it was important to hold the lead on the restart and whatnot, which we did, and we were able to keep everyone behind us. It was definitely a challenge. It was trying to stay sharper every lap, trying to not lock a tire, or spin a tire, whatever it is. But oh man, I'm just so thankful we were able to hang on, because they did not make it easy. That's for sure.
Buddy, you drove your heart out this evening. It was evident you deserve this one every step of the way. You led every single lap. You took this field to school despite starting second place. You immediately got up to first, and you showed that you were here to do one thing, and that was win. Congratulations this evening. Soak this one up. Have a good night, and we'll see you next week. But first, who do you have to thank? Who do you have to shout out? Who makes it happen for you with the 20 operation?
Absolutely. Got to thank Revin for putting on the league as always. Got to thank everyone who comes on races each and every week. A lot of these guys have been very supportive of me last week after the tragic news. So thank everyone for all their support as well. Got to thank you guys for putting on the broadcast. Probably definitely a fun one to go back and watch. So definitely going to go check that out. And of course, I mean, I can't say this, or I can't leave without saying this, but I dedicate this one to Dad. He's probably very appreciative of this one. And I also got to thank all the fans who come out and watch us each and every week as well. And thanks to my personal sponsors as well, First Rate Bathing Lots 207.
Once again, Daniel, congratulations. And best thoughts moving forward, best wishes moving forward. And man, I can't wait to see you do this again. I think a lot more wins are coming for you this season. I think this is the season of Daniel Falkingham. We'll let you go, buddy. We'll let you celebrate this evening. We'll let you have the night to yourself. And we'll see you at Dover.
Thank you, Andrew. Thanks, guys.
Daniel Falkingham, moving on from this evening, and I've never been in that situation. I can only imagine what it's like from his point of view, guys. But that might be the most meaning that's ever been behind an interview so far, especially a post-race interview. We've talked to a lot of people here on this channel. I've never honestly been so clueless going into an interview of what even to say. and I can only imagine how it is from his point of view.
It's certainly tough, Andrew, and I mean, it's certainly tough to try to compartmentalize and focus on the task at hand. I mean, the reality is that there's a lot of people who go through those types of circumstances, and they're not able to focus on what lies ahead as far as their roles and commitments and responsibilities. And Daniel Falkingham, who is an incredible young man that we've gotten to talk to many, many a times this year by virtue of his success, and we just hear how determined he is week in and week out, and he was able to come out and prove that after what was the toughest week of that young man's life. And I appreciate his ability to continue to focus on what his task was tonight, and that was to try to come out and win. And he executed. Even though he was the fastest at practice, we saw him miss out on the pole a little bit, and he quickly was able to bounce back and put that pedal to the floor and make it last throughout the duration of this 40-lap event. And that is something to say not only about Daniel Falkingham as a racer, but as a person. And the people who helped make him who he is today is solely responsible for that. And again, our thoughts go out to the Falkingham family in their entirety for all that they've had to endure this past week. But Daniel, you certainly made everybody proud here tonight. And this is a sentimental victory that we all could applaud when all's said and done for sure.
Absolutely. And the fashion he did it in, man, he led every single lap. He absolutely dominated. And he showed that this was his race. This was for his father, and he was going to get it done tonight, and he did. It was a phenomenal drive from Daniel, and the meaning behind it, I think, will have this win, stick with him for a long time.
Daniel Falkingham gets it done in front of everybody this evening and shows why he is here to go after a championship in NORC Season 13. We'll step aside. We'll take that post-race break. We'll be right back to you momentarily with the other couple of interviews after this one this evening. There was a lot that went down. Make sure to stick through it as we get into some more post-race interviews in just a few moments. We'll be right back to you after this short break.
After months of quarantine, we're all interested in how we can become our best self. The team at Permanent Makeup and Cryo is here to help you get the flawless makeup look every day without the extra effort or time. When it comes to your appearance, you deserve the best care that money can buy.
SoundArt introduces an entirely new way to listen to music in your home. By combining the best of two products, a revolutionary high-fidelity, low-profile Bluetooth wireless speaker with beautiful artwork. Select from a library of artwork or upload your own photos to personalize your experience. SoundArt ushers in an era of invisible, beautiful, and amazing sound throughout your home and redefines your entire entertainment system. The need to reclaim your floor space and rid your home of unsightly speaker boxes that need to be bolted to the wall is now a thing of the past. Our canvas is printed on high-quality permalite by Breathing Color. And select from our gallery or upload your own. Standard sizes include 16 by 20 and 18 by 24 canvas wrapped. Custom sizing is available, as well as surround sound options.
Welcome back to Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta in Braselton, Georgia, at least the virtual version thereof. We saw fantastic racing through and through. Only the second time that NORC has ever gone to this specific road course in Georgia. The last time around, Scott Ramler was the fastest. This evening, it was all Daniel Falkingham atop the speed charts, atop the scoring pylon, atop everything this evening. He gets it done at Road Atlanta. And we talked to him already, so we'll move things down the line to second place finisher Zoltan Herzog, and I'll hand things over to my companion, Eric Brennan.
Thanks a lot, Andrew, and welcome, Zoltan. And I'll tell you what, you've been on a bit of a roll lately. We talked about you as a defending champion having the issues at the season opener, but since then, you have been rocketing your way up the point standings. And my math is not always the best, but I believe you're going to leave here tonight second in the standings. But you laid down a flyer in qualifying. Saw a couple of small mistakes throughout the duration of the race. Was that the difference, perhaps, in being able to go back-to-back on wins here tonight, as far as after you took victory in Kentucky and came up just one spot short here tonight?
Yeah, I don't know. I was not expecting to be even close to quick. I'm usually terrible at road courses, so that was pleasant to see. And at the first corner, Daniel and I got into each other going up the hill. So it kind of messed me up. And then I was just in my mindset, all right, I got to get back to him. And I wheel hopped going into one a couple laps later. And then I went off into the grass, and then we had that caution, which I like, because you get all your mess ups done and over with in the first half, and then you can just race it out for the second half. And I was kind of just sitting behind Aaron and Shutt, just seeing what was going on, saving my rear tires, and then once they started messing up a little bit, I was able to get by them, and I was catching a little bit to Daniel. I don't think it was going to be enough no matter what, but with 2 laps to go, I dialed back on the brakes a little bit to give a little more rear brake to try to get a little better turn in, and just made me too loose, and I lost the rear end a couple of times, and lost a bunch of time.
Yeah, and that was going to be my next point. With 7 to go, you were 4th in line, appeared to potentially have the 4th best car of the group, and then all of a sudden you made quick work of Smith and Shutt, and you were closing in on that gap to Falkingham, the leader. But at that point, Zoltan, how narrow is that margin? You're at the tail end of the lifespan of these tires. You're obviously going up against a car who was dominant throughout the race. I mean, were you straddling that razor-thin edge there late in the going, trying to get to him?
Oh, yeah, definitely. It was super slick. The rear tires were super hot, and you just had to baby the throttle like crazy. So you really barely drive the thing, and it was tough. Daniel did a good job of saving his rears for that last run. Just wasn't enough.
Well, even though you may not consider road courses to be your specialty, you leave here with a podium finish, runner-up finish. As we said, it may move you up to second in points. Now we're going to get back to business as usual. We're going to the high-speed 1-mile oval of Dover International Speedway next week. What are your thoughts getting to that venue 1 week from tonight, and your level of confidence to see if maybe you could add yourself a second win, perhaps, on a track that is totally different from Road Atlanta?
Yeah, I'm definitely happy to be done with this. This was definitely a big question mark for me, and going to Dover's one of my favorite tracks, so hopefully they didn't change anything in the past couple months, and maybe hopefully I could have some speed and save some tires there and try to get a win, or even just a podium. I'm happy with podiums. That's all that matters till the chase starts.
Well, you're doing a good job at collecting them so far, Zoltan. Before we let you go, who do you have to thank for the second place run here tonight?
I got to thank you guys for broadcasting. It's always fun rewatching these, and got to thank everybody for a clean race. Got to thank John Barry for putting on the league, and of course everybody watching. It's definitely cool to be knowing that there's people watching you guys race, watching us race, and got it. There you go. That's probably it right there, actually.
Well, thank you for making it interesting. It was really fun to watch you charge your way up through the top 5 late in the going. Congratulations on a second-place run here tonight. Zoltan Herczeg, great talking to you, buddy. We'll see you in Dover.
All right, thanks, man.
And again, that is Zoltan Herczeg, who came up 1 spot short for going back-to-back as far as capturing victories so far in this 2021 season. Now I'm going to turn it over to Emerson Arden, who will be with our next driver to step into the interview room.
And we're going to be joined with Aaron Smith, and a phenomenal drive from 23rd to 4th. Aaron, how did you make that drive through the field?
Well, we had a pretty good field overall. Had a lot of fast cars, but fortunately we were able to slice through them all when they were at their weakest there at the beginning, and kept the nose clean and just made it pretty well. But I wish I could have won the race, but things happen.
Absolutely. At one point, you did have pace there, and I guess let's go to the restart. It is a 4-car all-out shootout between you, Falkingham, Herczeg, Shutt, and what's going through your mind there? How are you, I guess, planning to attack each and every driver, and then eventually, you know, it only panned out to you really having a shot there at shut. But what was the plan from that restart, and then how did it really work out?
Well, I knew I was quicker than all of them. I sat there and bided my time there, but then I took too long figuring out what I wanted to do, and I got stuck behind shut. And I didn't want to wreck him because every other time I've won a race in this series, I've had a car go across my nose, so figured I'd let him have it. I didn't want to mess up fourth place for myself.
Fair enough. That was a heartfelt battle. Brilliant crossovers from the both of you, and that send there in that final corner. What was all that about?
No, I just wanted to see if I can take a shot at him without hitting him, and it almost worked. But that wall was just too close to the track for it to work out, but it was close enough.
I figured. All right, so brilliant job here at the road course at Road Atlanta. Next up is Dover. How are you feeling? How do you plan to attack that 1 mile beast?
I'm not too sure. I don't know if I'll be able to show up, but if I do, it should be a fun race. I'm usually pretty fond of Dover, so it should make for a solid event.
Right on. Well, congratulations to you on your 4th place finish tonight and the phenomenal pace you had tonight. Who do you have to thank for getting it done?
I'd like to thank the folks at NORC for putting this show on, y'all for broadcasting, and everyone for watching. Looking forward to next week.
Absolutely. Once again, congratulations on your 4th place finish. Best luck to you next week at Dover, Aaron.
All right, thank you.
Right on, and that was driver of the number 70, Aaron Smith. Again, 23rd to 4th in this field. Wild. We knew he had the pace, but that was something else from Aaron Smith. Andrew?
That was certainly a heck of a battle between those guys. The whole top 4 kept things together really nicely, made things really exciting this evening. And this battle, I mean, it came down to the ragged edge, to the ragged end as well of this race here at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. It was a fun one, Eric. Let's take a look through our race results this evening in race number 6 of NORC Season 13. Daniel Falkingham, an extremely emotional win for him. 1.196 seconds over Zoltan Herzog. And again, if you missed it earlier, he's 1 week removed from losing his father, and I can only imagine what it's like for him and the rest of his family. Condolences to the Falkingham family, thoughts and prayers that way, and I can only imagine what it feels like as a driver as well to go out there and grab a race win the week after. And he was very open on social media about the fact that his father would watch him race, and I gotta believe he was watching him race tonight as well. And maybe even helping him get out to that race win. That's big for Daniel Falkingham. 3 wins now on the season, led every single lap. He had this field covered. Despite that damage halfway through, I think that was just a little bit of adversity to keep him on his toes. He kept on his toes, wins this evening. You see David Shutt in 3rd, Aaron Smith in 4th, and Zach Lindgren a very quiet top 5 as well.
Yeah, then you got Howie Briss, who came across the line in 6th after he was running up around the top 5 throughout a number of tonight's laps. And Spencer Ray, we talked about the fact that we've seen him before on some of the IndyCar stuff we cover on Pit Stop TV. Road course racing appears to be right up his alley. Battled with a very loose race car throughout the night, at least getting back to the gas off the corner. So Ray had to settle for 7. Sean Williams had a very quiet night in the best of ways. We didn't talk about Sean a lot here tonight, but he still comes home with an 8th place finish. Ariati, despite a couple of spins, ends up in 9th, and John Berry rounds out our top 10.
On to the second page results here. All these drivers a lap down. Spencer Owens comes home in 11th. Tom Mercier 12th. Sheldon Lockie 13th. Cody Miller, we saw get a little boop from Daniel Falkingham under caution. He'll finish 14th. And Justin Ford will come home in 15th. Again, all those drivers 1 lap off the pace.
Finishing 16th this evening, we get to the first of the retirees, Tommy Gossett. 16 laps down in the 16th spot, then Hayes Booth, 26 laps down. Those guys, they had decent starts. In fact, they looked pretty good in the early goings, and Tommy Gossett especially. He looked like he had a chance at a top 5, if not more. Ends up this evening leaving early after a spin out of 10B. Michael Keithley there in 18th. You see Aiden Kirker. He also had a very strong start. Some small issues in the early goings. He pulled off and called it a night in the 19th spot. Tyler Justice finishes 24th, Eric. The last 4 cars, just Cole Freilich, Chad Oxendine, race winner from North Wilkesboro. It's surprising to see him back there. Josh Robin and Brent Pancari. Everybody started this evening. Not everybody finished. We do hope that everybody's being safe across the South this evening. A lot of weather moving through the Mid-South and towards the Atlantic. Hopefully everybody, including Tyler Justice, is being safe. But boy, what a show.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, when you look at Road Atlanta, we know that it's going to provide some entertaining races here, especially for the stock cars, especially for the Xfinity model on the sim. I don't think that I expected to have 4 cars under a blanket for the last 12 or 13 laps that we got there. And I'm honestly not sure that I expected to see so many contenders there late in the going. But the night ends, and it's a very similar trend to what we've seen on 2 other occasions this season. Daniel Falkingham, P1, Herczeg right there with him, and David Schutt continues what's truly a consistent season for him at this point in the year. I mean, he was top 5 in points, got himself a podium finish here tonight. So even though we expected this race to be a bit of a variable, it played out as such for drivers who didn't have as much luck. But when we look at the final results, it's very similar to what we've had so far this season. Now the question is, will that momentum keep rolling for those 3 drivers, and will the rest of the field have something to say come Dover 1 week from tonight, Emerson?
Yeah, absolutely. With the wild race we had here today at Road Atlanta, with the varying strategies, the phenomenal battle amongst the top 4, I'm very interested to see how the rest of the points shake out. With Aaron Smith, you know, having a great run today, he should definitely lift himself off of the cut line. We'll see where he ends up mapping his way out in his way on the way to Dover next week. In the points battle, it's going to get really, really spicy heading into a beast of a racetrack down in, up in Dover, Delaware.
Not a beast of a racetrack, a monster of a racetrack, Emerson. It'll be fun in 1 week's time. I'm looking forward to it, and I hope everybody else is as well. Before we go this evening, I want to remind everybody these broadcasts always brought to you by Tucson Sound Art. Your picture, your music, you provide the image you want, and they will custom create a high-quality canvas around pretty much just a Bluetooth speaker. It's pretty much a canvas that goes around a box, but it looks fantastic on a wall. And you've seen recently... how else can I put this other than, again, a box that goes up on your wall pretty much, beautiful canvas on it, any image that you could possibly imagine. I've seen cityscapes. In fact, Eric, I know you've got one. You can see anything on those, sometimes pictures of a wedding reception, who knows. Now you can put a speaker inside of that. It sounds fantastic. Tucson Sound Art can make it happen for you. Make sure to watch our commercials throughout our broadcast to get a look at those products and see what they look like. Make sure to use promo code PitStopTV at checkout for 10% off of your order today. Again, TucsonSoundArt.com. It's spelled for you bottom right of your screen currently. These broadcasts also brought to you by Race Pace Setups. Ever wish you had a race engineer on speed dial? Well, now you do. His name is Tyler Campbell, and he works for Race Pace Setups here on the iRacing.com sim, especially in GT3 and Porsche Cup competition, but he has branched out to some other stuff, especially more recently, along with Cross Series League Racing. Some of those Sunday nights, you will get to see how some of those setups do when he produces those setups for those guys, those kind of baselines to help them get along the way. And not only setups, but driver coaching. I think that's the big one for anybody. No matter what car you're in, he can help you out. He can get you pointed in the right direction, even if he doesn't have a setup for you right off the top of his head. These broadcasts also brought to you by Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine, where you deserve the best care that money can buy. Now locations in Auburn, Lewiston, Naples, and Saco, Maine. Permanent Makeup in Maine is there to get you taken care of and looking your best going into the 2021 summer season. It's no secret. The country is opening back up bit by bit. You might have to go make sure that you're looking good to go sit on a beach. By all means, Permanent Makeup in Maine, they will take care of you. Although the beaches up in Maine, they're not exactly the sandiest, a little bit pebbly, but still absolutely worth it. These broadcasts also brought to you by Whiplash Media. The official graphic and camera provider of Pit Stop TV. And finally, these broadcasts brought to you by BAM Racing Videos, by a race fan, for the racing community. It was a fantastic one this evening. I cannot get over the fact that we had fantastic racing. Only the second time, if you can believe it, that NORC has brought these NASCAR Xfinity cars to Road Atlanta, and it's taken since the last season of these NASCAR Xfinity cars in Season 7 to bring them back now in Season 13 to Road Atlanta. It's crazy that it's taken so long. But, man, hopefully this is a mainstay on the schedule. I know Emerson was happy going into this one about the car track combo. I'm sure Eric was pretty excited too. I was over the moon to see Road Atlanta on the schedule, and I'm looking forward to the rest of the schedule as well. We'll see how it all pans out. But that will conclude our coverage tonight of the NORC iRacing Series at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. We at Pit Stop TV thank you for tuning in and joining us for tonight's action, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. The channel stays active weekly, and you can catch a variety of racing throughout the coming days, be it the third round of the BRP Asphalt Modified Tour tomorrow night at Watkins Glen, or maybe even the LTAC Cup Series at Auto Club Speedway this Friday night. Tons of racing for you. We've also got Cross Series League racing at Lime Rock Park and Mazda's this Sunday. Monday, we're back to our double headers with Pacific Challenge and their new Cup Series, not in NASCAR Cup cars, in Porsche 911 GT3 Cup cars. No assists in those beasts. Those are fun to watch. They will be racing after the BRP iRacing Series takes Pro Dirt late models to Knoxville. And those Porsches, a little while later on, they will go to Oran Park Raceway in Australia. Next week, NORC is back in action. We will be going to none other than the Dover International Speedway. Dover Downs is a fun one. I wish we could have lined this up a little more closely to the Kentucky Derby, but Dover is going to be a fun one in 1 week's time. Tuesday, May 11th at 6:40 p.m. Eastern Time. Make sure to be right back here on Pit Stop TV, be it any one of our 4 platforms, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter, or the NORC YouTube channel. You can watch live. It will be fun on that 1 mile of high-banked concrete. Before we go, make sure to follow us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/pitstoptv, on Twitter at pitstoptv_, on Instagram at pit_stop_TV, on Twitch at www.twitch.tv/pit_stop_TV, and on YouTube at www.youtube.com/c/pitstoptv1. For all of Pit Stop TV, Eric Brennan and Emerson Arden beside me on the mic this evening. Trey Shuttlesworth out around the racetrack grabbing photos for us to enjoy on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter rather. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Andrew Cardinale IV. This has been a fun one. I can't wait for Dover in 1 week's time. We'll see you there. Have a great night.